This may be a silly test, but it actually works. If we adapt the same method researchers use, we can get a pretty good idea of our Picado speed potential, even if you've never played guitar before. If you got 100 BPM or faster, congratulations, you're a freak of nature. If you think playing blazing fast Picado scales is just a matter of practicing like crazy for years, I'm about to prove you wrong with science. And by the way, I'm no scientist, so I'll keep this down to earth. And I don't want to crush anyone's dreams, because I know we guitar players love to secretly believe that with enough practice, we'll one day reach Paco de Lucia's speed, even though logically that makes zero sense. I mean, I fully accept I'll never run as fast as Usain Bolt, no matter how hard I train. But for some reason, when it comes to finger speed, our common sense suddenly leaves the chat. So let's clear this up, because living in fantasy land won't make you faster, but understanding the science behind finger speed will give you a more realistic idea of what you can expect. And who knows, maybe you'll find out you actually have insane speed potential. So what does science say about finger speed? You would assume professional musicians have much faster fingers than non-musicians, and you'd be right. That is, until you remove coordination from the equation. In complex coordination tasks, musicians absolutely outperform everyone else, but several studies found that with one finger tapping, the speed was basically the same in non-musicians and musicians, even in virtuoso pianists. This means musicians don't actually increase their raw finger speed. They improve coordination between fingers, not the fundamental speed at which they can contract a single finger. Finger contraction speed is not really trainable. It depends on how fast your nervous system sends the signals, and some people have faster nerves. In other words, some people are born with good genes, and the rest just have to figure out how to play the cards that we're dealt. Now, if we adapt the same method researchers use, we can get a pretty good idea of our Picado speed potential, even if you've never played guitar before. This may be a silly test, but it actually works. And I never did any tests like this before. I found out the hard way what my Picado speed limit was. So you don't need to do it, you'll find out anyways in a few years. But I think if I knew this when I was starting out, I would have been smarter and more cold-headed about my practice goals. At first I thought I could just use the tap tempo function in your typical metronome app, but it turns out they're not designed for super fast tapping and they'll give you false readings. So instead I'm going to use this app I found called BPM Counter. I found it on the App Store. It just counts how many taps you can make per minute, and it doesn't freak out when you tap fast. I couldn't find this exact app on Android, but any simple tap counter will do. You just need an app that counts how many taps you make. Or if you don't want to use an app, just count the taps in your head. Here's how the test works. Use either your index or middle finger of your picking hand. Choose the one that feels slower. Make sure you tap by moving just your finger, not the whole hand, that's cheating. Then tap as fast as you can for about 10 seconds. So this number is how many taps I can make in 1 minute. I only tap for 10 seconds, but this app does the math for you. If your app doesn't give BPM or you counted them in your head, just multiply your 10-second count by 6 to get your taps per minute number. And then the resulting number, we multiply it by 2, since Picado uses 2 fingers. In my case, that gives me 704. But when we talk about BPM for Picado, we usually mean 16th notes, not quarter notes, so divide that number by 4. If you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry, just divide by 4. And finally, share your result in the comments. I'm honestly curious to see what you've got. So this number is my theoretical Picado speed limit, more or less. Can I actually play that fast? Not a chance. Keep in mind this only reflects your physiological ceiling, so don't get too hyped about it. Getting anywhere close requires elite athlete level of dedication, both to reach it and to maintain it. The fastest I've ever been is about 140 BPM for long runs, and 150 BPM for shorter runs. And that was when I practiced 1 or 2 hours of technique every day. Now, I'm a little bit below that. If we're talking a speed that you can maintain without that kind of daily technique practice, think about 30 BPM short of your theoretical limit. Now, to give you an idea of where you're at, if your final number was between 150 and 180 BPM, you have average speed like me. If you got 190 BPM or faster, congratulations, you're a freak of nature.
Take that, you mutated son of a bitch!
Now let me show you what these speeds actually look like in real life. Okay, now that you know your speed potential and how that translates into real playing, I'm going to give you 3 tips that can save you months or even years of wondering why you're not getting faster. And by the way, I'm talking about rest stroke picado because this is the one we flamenco players use. But except the first tip, which is flamenco specific, this 100% applies to free stroke picado as well. Tip number 1, a lot of beginners get confused about hand posture and which joint should do the movement. There are 2 main approaches, the old school Sabica style with your hand in a lower position like this and straight fingers, and the modern style with your hand in a higher position, the Paco de Lucia style, and the fingers curved like this. This modern approach gives you a bigger range of attack because aside from upwards, you can plug the string into the guitar, which gives you a more aggressive sound. Some teachers insist you learn the modern way, but honestly guitar is hard enough as it is. Just pick whatever comes more naturally to you, or something in between. You can get killer picado with the old school position as well. Check out Javier Conde. He uses the old school position. By the way, no matter what kind of picado you use, the joint that does the movement is the knuckle. The other ones are just not powerful enough. Tip number 2, your nails make or break your picado. If you're not using nails yet, that's fine. It's actually a good idea to practice without them to harden the fingertips. But to get real speed and tone, you will need nails, and both length and shape have to be dialed in. Picado is the technique most sensitive to nail length and shape. If your nails are shaped correctly, that will do half of the work for you, and I want to say probably even more. I explain how to shape them depending on your particular anatomy in my beginner course. But just know this, if your nails are not right, your picado will be slower and sound dull. And sometimes you'll get the shape right, but you may have filed them too short, and sometimes you'll have the perfect length, but with a bad shape and rough edges. It can be very frustrating. So be patient and experiment with that until you can consistently get it right. And even then, sometimes accidents happen, so don't get too worked up about it, and accept that some days you just won't be able to play at your best. Tip number 3, this is a good one. Imagine your fingertips are the ones initiating the movement. This cue helps you reduce the motion range, which is exactly what you need for speed, and also helps wake up the finger muscles faster. Don't overthink it, just focus on the fingertips and keep carving those brain grooves until the motion becomes second nature. And a bonus tip, if you want to learn from the 3 most common beginner mistakes, subscribe to my newsletter at flamencoaddict.com. Just enter your email and you'll receive a video where I break them down, including how to spot a good flamenco guitar, how to simplify your practice as a beginner, and a mentality tip that will help you if you're starting out as an adult. I hope this video helped you understand how picado speed really works. If you want to share your test results, leave a comment. That's all for today. Have a good one.